Hello everyone, my name is James Fay and I work for PageGroup as a public sector and not-for-profit relationship manager across our Midlands and South West region. Myself and my colleague Matthew Masters, who is a business director across our property and construction discipline, welcome you to our public sector and not-for-profit professionals webinar focusing on the post-COVID-19 workplace. The impact of the pandemic on the recognised and normal traditional workplace model has flipped on its head. And for employers, it's really challenged those traditional ways of working, imposed new ways of thinking, and required new approaches to how we manage the new workplace. For employees, it has led to a sustained period of instability and uncertainty, and many have now a different mindset as to what they want from the workplace and their employers. The world of work has truly been shaken up. With that in mind, we've secured the services of two experts in areas that are very different, but both very relevant to today's discussion. To talk about the physical side of an office infrastructure and planning, we have Anthony Hulsman. Anthony is the head of hard services at Oxfordshire County Council and will firstly talk on some of their factors associated with this. We then welcome Sharon Murphy from Orbit Housing Group, who is the head of people development, to talk about what the new workplace looks like, how we measure performance, and ultimately build the new office culture and ways of working together again. So without further delay, I welcome Anthony to deliver his thoughts. Over to you, Anthony.
Good morning. I'm responsible for all the engineering maintenance at Oxfordshire County Council. In particular, had a lead role within the reopening and closing of buildings all the way during the pandemic, the changes in legislation and making the buildings COVID secure, which I'm sure you'll appreciate is a very topical subject. What I'm going to talk you through now is our process, our roadmap to opening up the buildings, from the basic request all the way through to securely opening the building in line with government guidelines. So the following steps are our service accommodation recovery steps, accommodation request forms, PIFM, which is property investment and facilities management, our triage process, overview of what the minimum actions are for opening, an example floor plan and a hard FM checklist per site, and any issues and questions. So firstly, we have to, when we get a request in, we have to have an agreement in principle, which is from the services Cedar director. Cedar stands for Chief Executive Direct Reports. So top level agreement has to be signed off in principle. Once we get that, Cedar approval is gained and the service must complete the accommodation request to the property investment and FM team. We instigated some daily meetings with the FM team and the relevant services. These services could be children and families, library services, or corporate office space. And they were to ascertain any current COVID secure capacity in the estate. Following on from that, actions would require an FM manager was appointed to support the service to complete a checklist. This will have been how the service is due to operate at reduced capacity in a COVID secure manner. COVID secure risk assessments, both by the service in how they're going to operate their core function, and risk assessments for the building to ensure the building is COVID secure. Once they are completed, they are all submitted to the Director of FM, which will then write an appropriate report to Cedar and authorise the accommodation recovery. Basically here we have an accommodation request form, which follows the line is what the name of the service is your service accommodation requirement to fill a statutory requirement. These statutory requirements will include births, deaths, marriages, any children services, which are key services to any local authority where we have a statutory obligation to remain open. These will always take priority and have done so with OCC all the way through the pandemic. Having undertaken the COVID secure risk assessment, what essential activities have we identified that need to be undertaken within the accommodation? Therefore, items such as cash payments for social benefits, any statutory meetings for children and families, etc., births, deaths and marriages, registration. We will then look at, following what the core duties are, how many desks do we need for that and what frequency do we envisage those meetings taking place. Where we have statutory meetings, a special meeting requirement space is reviewed. For example, where we need separate waiting areas for third parties. This was very prevalent in births, deaths and marriage registration, where we had multiple people wanting to register one of the three, and we would have to create separate meeting spaces which were COVID secure. If you require accommodation for service users or general public, what will it be? Again, births, deaths, marriages spring to mind. What is your normal location? And this was a key piece of information. Because of the nature of the building, it didn't always lend itself to operating in a COVID secure manner. Therefore, we would have to find alternative accommodation which met the COVID guidelines, and we would make that building COVID secure. Is it possible to operate in a different location? And if not, why not? So a solid business case would have to be put together why you had to operate within that building and couldn't move to an alternative, better location. Is there any other information you'd like to pass on to the accommodation triage team? So this may have been welfare facilities, it may have been disabled access, and so on. We put together a draft Microsoft forms which could be filled in electronically and sent to the appropriate people. Upon receipt of those forms, we put together an accommodation request triage. At the top of that tree were new or emerging statutory requirements that always took precedent for obvious reasons and what we mentioned below. Second to that, second tier down, was office accommodation required for health and safety and other HR reasons. In some cases, health and safety may have been for the welfare of certain staff members who could not work from home for various reasons, and they would be taken into consideration. And at that point, HR would then have got involved with the line manager to verify that this is a legitimate request. Third down was delivery of non-office based, non-statutory frontline services. This was very rare, as we were quite robust in our belief that home working was the best solution during the pandemic, unless, as mentioned in the previous point, it was for health and safety reasons or for general welfare of staff. But again, this was thoroughly investigated and reviewed. All of the requests at the bottom would be reviewed, and in many cases we rejected them because we believed it was better for our staff and members of the public that we continue to operate in an agile manner. So here we have a roadmap, which is an overview of the minimum actions for reopening. In the first instance, as mentioned, a COVID secure risk assessment for the service activates its responsibility for the service and must be completed prior to reoccupation. Once we receive that, there are two streams. So Hard FM, which is your mechanical and electrical maintenance team, will have to carry out a checklist, and this is predominantly around all the statutory duties such as gas, electric, water, just to confirm that the building remains statutory compliant. In particular, two areas which we focused on was the air handling systems, as there was new guidelines through the pandemic removing recirculated air and recommending fresh air systems into the building. And this was recommended by CIBSE and adopted by the HSE. Furthermore, a review of all Legionella and water hygiene systems. We'll come on to that later in the slide. Next thing in there would have been cleaning regimes. We would have had to review the cleaning regimes, and in many cases we would enhance that. That may be in relation to the type of products that you're using, the dispersal of hand sanitizer in appropriate locations. Again, the cleaning team will have worked with the service to identify the number of people in the building, what areas had to be cleaned and to what standard. At that point, we engaged our estates team, where a scale floor plan was created to show a COVID secure layout. The county adopted the 2 metre rule, and in a lot of cases, and we will come on to it in a moment, you looked at extremely reduced capacity within each of those buildings. This must be signed off by the service. It will be dependent as you are opening your building whether you are adhering to the 2 metre rule or the new 1 metre rule, and that determines what kind of PPE you're going to be using in the building, particularly around choke points where masks must be worn. Soft FM would appoint an FM manager who would liaise with the service to ensure that all of the points in the checklist are completed and the risk assessment is signed off and suitably approved. Here's an example floor plan that we will have put together. The most important thing here is that we have instigated a clear and safe one-way system for movement through the building, vertical as well as horizontal. This has to be clearly marked out. If we identify pinch points where you could not adhere to the 1 metre rule or the 2 metre rule, a mask must be worn. And we instigated a policy that when you move from your desk, a mask must be worn at all times. Systems of up and down from the stairs, so a one-way down and a one-way up system, and a designated waiting area if lifts are in use. Also, depending on the size of the lift, it was determined a notice should be put on capacity to ensure that we're adhering to the rules. System for safe use of staff facilities, toilet facilities and kitchen facilities should be established. Again, one-way system through the kitchens if that prevails. In some areas we had galley kitchens where you had one entrance, one exit, so you could walk in, walk out. It was only one person allowed in the kitchen at any one time. 2 metre waiting stages along the way, along the route that was marked. Staff are responsible for their own mugs, water bottles, hand sanitizers and soaps were used after touching fridges, taps, kettles, etc. In relation to toilets, a one in, one out system was instigated, and signs were put on the doors to notify people that toilets were being used, and they would also engage with an enhanced cleaning regime to ensure that the toilets are cleaned on a more frequent basis. Furthermore, hand sanitizer and the appropriate soaps were made available. Furthermore, we disengaged all hand dryers and we installed a paper towel system, a touchless paper towel system. As you can see from the floor plan, what you see here is in the red marker, you have the one-way system which operates. The green circles demonstrate a desk space with a 2 metre bubble around it. So everywhere you see a green circle has been designated a COVID secure area. In some of these cases, for example, you will see 3 desks and 1 green bubble area. So effectively you have 1 operational desk in that area. Where you don't have that, we have installed Perspex COVID secure certified screens. So from an engineering point of view, hard FM COVID reoccupation checklist, this is something that we devised in and around reopening a building that had to be completed and signed off to ensure that the building remained in a statutory manner. So plumbing, we had faucets, showers, we would run the water, make sure the kitchen and bathroom cabinets were checked for leaks. Plumbing shut-off valves we inspect for proper operation, particularly in cases where a building has been left for a number of months, where potentially if there was nobody in the building, we would have seen if there was an issue, a small leak or anything like that. So we would go in and check the building and make sure there was nothing that we did not know about. Also, we would instigate a heightened Legionella regime, as you're going to have less flushes, less water runs, just to make sure that your Legionella count didn't go up, or you didn't get one. So from that perspective, it was quite intensive. A similar one was put together for cleaning. but it was more service orientated, and it was based on the number of people that were in the building. So then we would ask some questions about the approach from, was it appropriate, and is approval given for implementation? We'd ask the services the triage hierarchy considered appropriate and complete, use of CAD drawings and COVID secure plans to be mandated and as recommended here. This was all operated very, very successfully, and as we move into a new stage of the pandemic, this is a system we've operated for a number of months now and has worked very, very well and been very successful. The county currently continues to operate on an agile policy with work from home. However, we have got statutory requirements and we do follow this process rigidly.
Thank you very much, Anthony, for that. I'm sure it's given our viewers some food for thought and hopefully answers to some unanswered questions that maybe people have. Over to Sharon now, who will give us some insights on the challenges around from the human perspective.
Hi, my name is Sharon Murphy and my role is Head of People Development at Orbit. So a little bit about Orbit. We're committed to building thriving communities with a growing portfolio of over 45,000 homes for 100,000 customers built over the last 50 years. We're really committed to making a positive difference in people's lives, giving back over £5 million each year. And we believe that as part of our commitment to building thriving communities, supporting our customers' well-being, safety and health is essential. So we want our customers to flourish in their communities, and we do this through our Better Days programme. We are a performance-driven, values-led company that puts its people at the heart of everything we do and have been accredited as a Times Top 100 company to work for. So having introduced agile and flexible working in 2018, Orbit was already on this track, but the pandemic caused us to accelerate our journey. We took the opportunity to engage and ask our employees their views on how they wanted to work in the future. We introduced our Work Smart programme, which is an ongoing commitment for office-based employees to be able to choose to work from home for 3 days a week or more as their role allows it to. And there are many benefits to this approach for our employees, giving them the freedom and flexibility to work as they need, but there are also benefits for the organisation too. It removes geographical recruitment restrictions, so we have the best talent pool to draw from, and enables us to consider smaller collaborative team spaces over large capacity offices, resulting in a reduction in our overheads and our carbon footprint. Now we've identified that we'll have 3 types of workers, and each will work in different ways depending on where they find the most effective place to work. And this can mean where they are most productive, where suits their location, and where they are best able to carry out their duties to the best of their ability. This means that implementation of Work Smart will depend on where and how teams need to work. We also have our agile policies and Work Smart framework, which provides guidance and support for both managers and colleagues. Now we focused on 3 key areas to support the delivery and embedding of our Work Smart approach. So teamwork and team spirit are vital to keep colleagues engaged and motivated. So we're already budgeting for more social activities and events and more collaborative days away and team activities to really retain our culture and team spirit. Culture champions, and one real positive to fall out of remote working is that it has allowed some people to step into limelight, really lifting and carrying teams when it's most needed. These people who have come forward and helped our office culture are going to be important to the business going forward. And the most exciting thing for me is that these people, the team champions, leaders and managers of the future, may not be the colleagues you expect. And this may well be the igniter for real change at C-suite and board level. Inclusive leadership. But the true challenge is yet to come, where our leadership styles, policies and operating models need to adapt as we take the best from the 2 work worlds we now know. We need to offer people choice and adapt to their needs and create engagement, understanding and buy-in to what we're working together to achieve. It's going to bring the skills of managers into light, but also an appreciation of different skills and talents. I mean, ultimately, it will require integrity, trust and authenticity in leadership. You know, the pandemic might have been an unwanted catalyst, but the result could well be the change we need. We're working with our management teams across our business to ask them what they want and need in terms of support and guidance, and to be able to lead their teams effectively for the future. This focuses on how we manage performance of people that work differently to us and others. What are their preference? What is best for our customers and wider teams, and really gain an approach that is suitable for all. Recognising the structure and support needed for our colleagues has been key. The structure to support the changes in how we work and shifting of habits out of the old and into the new, a framework of support and guidance for both colleagues and managers. And as part of our Work Smart programme, we have had 850 colleagues voluntarily sign up to Agile Work Smart ways of working permanently. We've given our colleagues a one-off allowance to enable them to set up a home office. We've led skills training for managers and colleagues via virtual power hours to ensure they are efficient and effective whilst working. And in any change programme like this, capturing the hearts and minds of people is key in really embedding long-term change. So comms and engaging is key. Consulting with our colleagues was really fundamental approach. Our aim was to engage colleagues with the new ways of working and align them to our Agile vision, explain the new policy so that it is user-friendly and understandable, and bring it to life so that it's meaningful and impactful, listening to feedback and delivering what our people have asked for. Now, we did this in various ways: animated video, guides for colleagues and managers, visuals, emails, Yammer posts, case studies, a launch video from our group people director, checklists, FAQs. We have a clear, planned out approach to ensure that our colleagues are taken on a journey. So we launched to managers first to gain buy-in, and then to employees a week later. And so far, engagement has been really high, with an 86% comms engagement rate and 3,400 hits to the intranet page. This is how we've improved our workspaces, really making them inviting and spaces where colleagues can come and want to come together and collaborate. So we're constantly asking for feedback, with our internal survey highlighting that 79% of colleagues are working from home, with 74% finding it easy to do so. And some of the themes of the feedback has been that mental health has improved, colleagues are feeling more trusted, colleagues feel supported and feel more productive. Overall engagement has increased, teams are more motivated, and we're finding that cross-team collaboration has vastly improved. So thank you for listening today. Work Smarter is a journey, and with our employees' support and commitment, we will continue to review and evolve what this needs to look like for our customers and our colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Again, some really interesting ideas and suggestions for the now very different workplace post-COVID-19. We recognise that delivering the webinar in this format and not in a live format as we would usually do takes away the opportunity for any Q&A. So we'll follow up with everyone that has attended and taken the time to view, and give you the opportunity to put some questions to our panel. We'll pass them on to them and get them answered as quickly as possible for you. Thank you very much for taking the time to download or view the webinar. I do hope that it was useful for you. PageGroup are committed to delivering relevant and timely events such as this, and very much focus on the value add, in addition to the reach we have across many different candidate markets at all levels. We are dedicated UK-wide public sector not-for-profit recruitment specialists, sit as members on many of the frameworks used, and have specialist teams of consultants that operate across blue and white collar and executive recruitment spaces. If we can be of any assistance in these areas, please do not hesitate to contact myself or Matt. And thanks again for viewing, and goodbye.
If you found this video helpful for your recruitment journey, why not subscribe to our channel? And don't forget to tap the bell to get the latest videos first.